Welcome to the Son of Man. How do I speak about the Son? In biblical terms, the Son of Man refers to Jesus Christ. However, in my altered experience, the Sun in our solar system and the Son of Man become one image. They both can be seen as standing central to human life. In the height of my manic psychosis, I become the Son of Man. In my mind, I make unusual cosmic connections, and I will attempt to explain my thread of logic. The Son of Man is Jesus Christ. Our star, the Sun, is a feminine noun in German, pronounced as die Sonne. Die Sonne means that the Son of Man, namely Jesus, has been reincarnated as a daughter of man. Therefore, Jesus, originally named Emmanuel, has now been reborn as Manuela. This drawing that I created in the midst of a manic psychosis tries to visually capture how I understand these cosmic connections. We are all stars, yet in manic psychosis I paint myself as the Son of Man. After coming out of the psychosis, I felt the need to redo the drawing and reinterpret the drawing multiple times. Perhaps it was because I wanted my altered experience to be seen as valid and important, and the childlike drawing did not reflect the seriousness and depth of the enlivening thought process. I wonder why the sun is feminine in German. It is early morning. Here comes the sun. As I sat in the courtyard of the psychiatric hospital, I thought about Devil's Peak. He always said that he wanted to reclaim his throne on high. While he was in the void, the eternal black hole, the world had gone desperately wrong. He had been absent for so long, and now he is back. He gave me scenarios of how to build a bridge, and none of them succeeded in rectifying the world. He was asking me for advice, and I was unable to provide it. I could not understand his divine consciousness. It was beyond my human comprehension. I could not tell if he was God, Satan, or both. The bridge was meant to save man. Perhaps I am the bridge? Nevertheless, the Son of Man rises every day and sets every night. Caught between two extremes. In manic psychosis, everything is enlivening, uncontained happiness. Everything has meaning. It can be seen as insanity, but I feel like I am floating. I am alive. I have purpose. And everything is beautiful and makes sense. I feel like I'm full of fire and freedom and excitement. It is an altered dreamlike state that is magical. And I feel important. The aftermath of psychosis is painful. It is when I become stable and reality sets in that I am filled with darkness, guilt, self-hatred, shame, anxiety, and embarrassment. That void that I feel is like an internal death. Sogar die Sonne wird verglühen. Before Icarus fell from the heavens, did he get a glimpse into the sun's inferno that most of us are innately unable to see? The sun is relentless, and so is the darkness of the void. Conversation at the Flay. The garden and Flay still looked so beautiful in the evening light. Next door I heard my landlady's dog barking, and eventually she opened the door and came looking for me. She found me sitting outside, lost in cigarette smoke and ever-evolving thoughts. She sat down next to me and I started speaking my thoughts aloud. This is a snippet of the conversation that I can remember. I feel as though I have awoken and the fate of the world rests upon my shoulders. I am here to judge whether or not humanity should continue to exist or not. It is as though our God created us in the same way we have created artificial intelligence. He granted us free will to test and evaluate whether or not humanity was inherently good or evil. Are we a loving or destructive force? The evaluation is tough, and that is why he sent me to grow up as a human among other humans, to fully understand and empathize what it means to be human before I'm given the impossible task of judging the entirety of humanity, past, present, and possible future. Would that mean that with my presence in the world, the second coming has begun? Is that why I was named Manuela, after Emmanuel, meaning God with us? After a moment, my landlady lovingly responds, "You want to be God." I immediately interrupt her and retort, "No, I would never want that impossibly complex responsibility bestowed upon me. It would outweigh the gravity of any sun or any black hole. I want to be a normal person. I want to enjoy this moment, this cigarette, this flay. I want to rather keep living as an average human whose destiny is continually shaped by God's will. I want to be a speck of dust in the wind." In April of 2022, I received a meaningful note during my psychotic episode. It read as follows: "Manuela, I read something today which might be helpful for you. Up to you to investigate what you respond. The myth of the divine savior who will sweep in with an army of angels to save us from ourselves is no longer operative. Each of us, one by one, must be willing to make the leap from animal to divine. Remember that Jesus taught us a way towards the truth. Did he ever say he would save us? And is the ultimate truth not what we call God? God, the unknowable, Jesus, and unnameable?" Welcome to the cosmos. I had found the perfect blueprint to demonstrate an abstract understanding of consciousness, reality, and time of the cosmos from the human perspective. In the center is earthly consciousness, where we are bound by our physical bodies and environment to solid forms of what we identify as reality. We are limited by our five senses in understanding ourselves and our surroundings. The further we venture out into the outer limits of reality, the further we explore through spiritual spiral vibrations the edges of the cosmos. If we cross beyond the unknown, the omega of God, and drop from the precipice, we fall into the void where time completely distorts. It is then that our consciousness is flung through the supermassive black hole in a spiraling motion back onto Earth. The landing is painful and sudden. It is the fall of Icarus crashing back onto Earth in an unforgiving way. But it is where humans live. We are meant to be bound to our physical bodies. However, perhaps through altered states, one could learn to navigate the limits of reality without falling into the void, finding a connection to God, the cosmos. When lost in the void, medication pulls you forcefully and painfully back to Earth. I saw all of this in the courtyard tables at the psychiatric hospital that I was admitted to in April 2022 due to a manic psychotic episode. Welcome to the Garden of Eden and Blessing. Reversal of Original Sin. Day 1. At the foot of the tree in the center of Eden, a little speckworm was placed with 2 parallel arms. I took one arm representing the light of humanity and tied it together with the other arm representing the shadow of humanity. I bound them together around the tree of knowledge of good and evil. They will grow together, said God. There sat the little speckworm hugging the tree that always pointed towards the heavens. Day 2. I found the eaten apple that had been cast away before the fall of man. I lovingly placed the apple between the arms of good and evil. I blessed this image and prayed for God's absolution. I broke the metaphorical image and distributed the pieces in the garden. That day, the starlings came to visit, to eat the remains. We are forgiven. Day 3. I found a new apple, the perfect apple. I placed it as an offering between the arms of good and evil. I lovingly blessed this image before me. To complete the reversal of sin, I must bite into the apple. It is my duty to save man. What would you and God talk about over a cup of coffee on the edge of consciousness and time? Before he fell from the heavens, Icarus threw one of his feathers at the sun. He was able to pierce the center of the dartboard of sin. Story of the Peace Lily. In July 2020, someone dear to me gave me a peace lily with red flowers during my admission to the psychiatric hospital due to experiencing another psychotic episode. The peace lily flowers were shaped like hearts to always remind me that I am loved. In April 2022, I was readmitted to a psychiatric hospital and I repotted the plant on the hospital grounds. She had outgrown her previous pot. I used the soil from the Garden of Eden found within the hospital's courtyard. The repotting was a ritual representing my spiritual growth from 2020 to 2022. While in the hospital, I decoupaged the new pot with images of Icarus, as well as the stars. We are all little suns. Dishonor is inside of Icarus. Sunday, 5th of July, 2020. I was ranting and raving mad. Mad in the sense that my thoughts and behaviors were erratic, and mad in the sense that I was overcome with rage. Both my psychologist and psychiatrist were urgently called. I was refusing to take the medication, and the hospital staff were desperate. They did not know what to do with me. I shouted and screamed at the staff, my psychiatrist and psychologist. They did not understand my truth, nor did I feel like they wanted to. I screamed, "Fuck you," to both my psychologist and psychiatrist. My psychiatrist immediately left the room to make arrangements for me to be moved to Falkenberg. The staff there would be allowed to forcefully inject me with antipsychotic medication. My psychologist told them to wait, asking to speak to me one last time. She came to me, gently knelt in front of me and pleaded, "Manuela, please, I need you to take your medication. I wish I could give you an apple instead, but right now we all need you to take your antipsychotic." I looked into her eyes and saw the desperation on her face. A moment of insight came over me, and I saw that my actions had created so much trauma, devastation, and hurt. The nurses gave me my meds, and I woke up as myself. I peek my head past the door frame that separates my room from the unknown. I peer down the dark hallway to the light on the other side. Instead of venturing out, I retreat back into my room. An inexplicable force dares me to move beyond the room into the hallway. At first, I sit just outside my room. Music from my earbuds fills my mind as I observe the world around me. I move further down the hallway and sit down. People move around me seamlessly. The energy of the cosmos moves through me, and I am celebrating. I go past the queue of the patients waiting to receive their evening medication. On the other side of the hallway is darkness, and a door locked with a chain. I walk closer to examine the heavy lock. On it, I see the letter of Omega. In Ehrfurcht, I retreated from the door. I cannot and should never cross the Omega of God. I am a human. I must remember my place and remain above all humble. Die Sonne knows more than 4 dimensions. Imagine we could see the 4th dimension and beyond. What cosmic forces are at play? What would die Sonne look like if she was absorbed by the eternal black hole? Space and time collapse. I spiral into my mind and yet simultaneously out into the cosmos. I start seeing the same conversation play out in 3 different realities, as if I have 3 different options of acting and reacting in real time. Time continues to abstract. I collide through space and time, traveling between their extremes. Is it the future or past version of myself moving just beyond my reach? We speak opposite languages because we are moving in different temporal directions. Love translates to hate and vice versa. I fall into the arms of my friend. I am back on earth, living time in a linear way, in what we call reality. Eternally expecting. In each psychotic episode, the unfounded belief of being pregnant evolved. 2017. I remember speaking about Lena Dunham and that we should never meet. We were twin souls, and if we were to meet, it would mean the end of the world. I was convinced that I had immaculately fallen pregnant with the Antichrist, and Lena was pregnant with Christ. Later on in the psychiatric hospital, I took a pregnancy test and the result was negative. I was relieved. I did not want to bear any children. 2020. This time I was most definitely pregnant. I had to be. My period was 8 days late. I told my psychologist about my fears while sitting on my bed in the psychiatric hospital. She asked me what I would do if I was indeed pregnant, and without hesitation, I mentioned getting an abortion. I knew that I was too fragile and weak to be a good mother. 2022. I was dead set on giving birth to either Samuel or Gaia. Most ideally, I wanted to give birth to a girl named Gaia, who would help people throughout their life's journey to honor and protect planet Earth. Later in life, in her childbearing years, she too would give birth to another Gaia, who would eventually give birth to another Gaia, and so on, until the planet had completely healed from all human destruction. Gaia had to reverse all of humanity's damaging footprint. My conversation with God, 2022. A multitude of thoughts flew through my mind as I sat for hours in the garden. I marveled at the butterflies as they mirrored my twisting and turning thoughts. The garden was so wonderfully peaceful and alive with the smells of nature as I bathed in the warmth of the evening sun. In one sudden moment, I was overcome with a warm and comforting energy. My whole body was tingling with happiness. I knew then and there that I was in direct contact with God. As I listened to him, I felt pure joy. He was communicating with me by lovingly and gently steering my thoughts. Thank you so much for loving me, I whispered aloud. I had never felt such an ineffable magnitude of love and warmth before. Submit. Bend the knee. You are never going to have your own way again. I give you my undying love from God. The spiral is always present. Look at the spiral galaxies, the golden ratio, DNA double helix, hurricanes, the nautilus shells. The golden sun slowly rises in the parking lot of the psychiatric institution on Monday, the 6th of July, 2020. She shines light on the aftermath of the day before. Stuck in the loony bin. With love. Ring in the Fire, 2020. Winter had arrived. I sat in front of the cozy fireplace, lost in infinite thought. Fire is such a powerful element, and yet it was safely contained before me. I was mesmerized by the dancing flames. After fiddling with my ring, I suddenly realized what needed to be done. To protect the life of my beloved, I had to throw my dear ring into the fire. I had faithfully worn this ring every single day for many years since I received it from my beloved. As soon as I threw the ring into the fire, I realized I needed to be the one to retrieve the ring from the flames. If my beloved found the ring in the ashes, he would die and become a White Walker at my hands. I raced to the kitchen to grab a glass of water, and in desperation threw the water onto the raging flames. Ash spat back at me. My beloved was bewildered and tore me away from the flames. In the end, my beloved was the one to retrieve the ruined ring from the ashes. My dear God, why do I feel forsaken? Now I am fundamentally broken. Lost between two worlds. Und dann ist die Sonne gestorben.